So is this a closed meeting or just, it's an open?
It's an open meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
3 items, work your way through and be done, so you're up and running.
You make all the notes for policies, Chris. My brain's not there.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you're live now. Just unmute me or unmute us. Okay, Angela, hear us? Angela, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yeah. Can you hear me?
Angela.
Oh,
Angela, are you there?
hello, can you hear me now? Hello? Oh,
Yeah.
can you guys hear me?
Cover and do the acceptance of the agenda presented.
Yeah. Which one? Okay, so I guess the, we'll call this to order at 10 o'clock, and the agenda consists of 3 items. It's a subdivision application as well as the
Hello?
beach maintenance and environmental stewardship forum. And if you want this, we're not going to talk about this draft, or
No, that's
Just
for your
for
next council
information.
meeting, that's for you guys to get prepared.
okay. And the third thing,
There's 2 policies.
The 2 policies and the subdivision consolidation. That's it.
okay, so as far as we'll do the, is that okay for the agenda? Someone move? Yeah, I'll move that. Okay. In favor. So we have a request for a, we should get Angela on this here.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Angela. Hello. You sent
Hello.
her
You guys can't hear me?
a thing on her thing to unmute.
She's not muted. It will say she's muted.
There is a mute that shows up in the one corner. She's got her hand raised.
Oh, there.
Oh,
I don't know why you can't hear me.
There it is. Oh, there's down, Angela.
I don't know why. My computer.
no.
I don't want to beat her.
Ask to start video.
You send her a chat.
Yeah, I did. Test.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what's wrong, Angela.
I don't know either.
Oh, there we go.
There you are. We've got
Can you hear me
you.
now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know what I did, but I could hear you fine. Anyways, here I am.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a request from Ken and Ray McMullen on, they have lots on 2nd Street. They actually have a cabin on lot number 15, and then they own 11 and 13. So 11 and 13, they want to combine them 2 parcels.
You want Angela to walk you through?
Yeah, Angela, do you want to give us the overview?
I sure can. Yeah. So just as Lauren had mentioned, it's Kenneth and Ray McMullen at 11 and 13 2nd Street at the White Sands. They are looking to consolidate 2 of their 3 lots that they own in a line there from the south end of 2nd Street on the west side. They do have an existing kind of Quonset style house right now on the one lot, and they're either hoping to add on to that or remove that house and build a new one. But they will be crossing the line either way. So they have requested this consolidation in the village. It is over the maximum parcel size in the land use bylaw. So it does require a variance or an approval through council. When you look at the lot, it's, I did include some pictures on there, and it is a very low lying, that very southwest lot is very low lying lot. And therefore that's kind of my reasoning. I think it may be beneficial to consolidate them and utilize the lots the best possible to avoid any drainage issues in the future. But it is over that lot. So it is your guys' decision what you prefer to do. And yeah, that's kind of what's before you today.
Okay, so in the R1 district, so that includes all the small lots pretty well along Lakeview Avenue, and then also First, Second, Third, and Fourth Street. So all them lots are pretty well, like land use bylaw says they can be maximum 1,003 square meters. So when you look at some of the lots that are existing in the older part of the village, there's on Lakeview Avenue, there's lot 42, lot 40, lot 54, and they're 1,189 square meters, 0.25 square meters. So they're over what is allowed. And then there's another one, lot 52 is 1,263 square meters.
That's just the way they were originally.
Actually, Paul, they were lots that there was there was 3 lots that turned into 2.
Okay.
On them 2 situations there.
Okay.
And the Angela's completely right about the one lot. Actually, when we used to monkey around out here at the lake, that lot had been for sale for quite some time. The one next to Buffalo Road, lot number 11. And it definitely is lower, and there could be potential for some definite drainage problems there because it's kind of a bowl. Like
Yeah.
it would be very, it could end up that what happens if it was registered as a village lot, so we have some responsibility as a village for drainage. And that's just the way it is.
And if they move toward a house or putting on the what currently the property's name, they would still be responsible for the low area. Okay, so and they would have to come up with the plan for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just accept it.
Or accept, yeah, but yeah, so I think that would address any future liabilities on that.
Yeah, I don't think there would be any. Like I've never seen water in there.
No, but if they put a house on there and
Oh,
they knock some trees
They
down.
would have, they
It'd be
would,
their responsibility to ensure
Yeah.
that,
Angela, so if they built there, they'd have to have a drainage plan, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So at the development permit stage, we would knock all those conditions onto the development permit. Absolutely, put the responsibility back on the landowner for sure.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess the other thing against it is, so you'd be taking a lot out of our inventory of properties.
Hmm.
But there is a kind of extenuating circumstances with this one. I know that last year or the year before there was a subdivision that I was very against because it took a lot out of inventory that was a half acre and it got split in 3 pieces. So we absolutely lost a whole bunch of tax revenue over that.
Do we have available the assessed revenue right now on lots 11 and 13?
I would say we'd have to get the assessor to get that information, but I would say on lot 11, probably around the taxes, probably around $1,000 to $1,200.
So they know the that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
assessment would be very,
Because there's also the possibility if it looks like an older home on there right now, that if they were to build a, nice new big home across both lots, that the value to build it, the tax
Could go
assessment
up.
could grow.
and even if they put an addition on it and made it a year-round place, it would have to be revamped to a standard that would be.
I can let you know this stuff, but just give me a couple
Sure.
moments to log into my system, but continue discussing. And I'll let you know.
So the, like that other one I'm talking about, it completely took that out of inventory where it's a half acre that could have been built on.
Mhm.
And one comment was, well, we're gonna pay a bunch more taxes. Well, no way would they be paying more than having ground lot. But, this one is a different story. Like every subdivision that comes along is different.
Yeah, and that lot hasn't been developed in 40 years or however long it's been in place.
So number 11 is assessed at $94,060. And number 12, right?
13.
13. 176,410.
So if they put a bigger house on the,
It could feed the value of both those right now.
Yeah.
Easily. With new,
I don't see it
Maybe
as a
larger.
major drop in revenue.
yeah, I guess that's not something that's within our control, or we can't stipulate.
No.
What we wouldn't want us to have to, or whether they have to.
Okay, so have you guys really,
I have no problem, no
Yeah.
issues with it at all.
The one thing I am more curious on than anything else is I was reading through the materials on it, and the section in the land use bylaw that talks about lot size requirements, and the parts on there, if it's not intended to be served by a sewer collection and a water distribution system, has the minimum size of the 10,800 square feet. But if it's intended to be served by a sewage collection system, but not a water distribution system, then it's 19,000 square feet. And it's like, why are those
Half
set up
acre.
different? And
that's always been there, and some of that comes from Angela, that was from the Buff Lake IDP, wasn't it?
I believe so, yes.
okay, it just
And
seems-
it's very confusing.
yeah, it just seems it's different numbers based on something that I wouldn't think has anything to do with it. If it's intended to be served by a sewage collection system, then you think it can be smaller lots because you don't need septic. Anyways, it's not relevant to this discussion.
No,
But I can
Right.
find that answer for you and get that to you for sure, so you know.
yeah,
And that could be an amendment for the land use bylaw to
That could be a new-
review that,
To look at that, yeah.
yeah.
but
Yeah.
if it's in the Buff Lake IDP, then we have to have it in our land use bylaw.
Okay.
To
So,
address
But in that case,
So maybe it's the wording that
yeah,
needs to
it's
be,
really confusing.
so that it's understanding it's in relation to that.
Yeah.
But the municipality, unless it's a brand new large subdivision, you're not looking at that, right?
No,
And
No.
that's the thing with the small lots around the lake, like a subdivision is really confined to a whole bunch of small lots around the lake, and that's part of it too. 'Cause,
Yes.
Buff Lake IDP.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're okay, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay,
I would make a motion to accept.
okay, all in favor?
Okay, we need to
Do you need the
know,
right wording or?
yes.
You put the words around it, but
I think Angela,
I think you have it.
Is it option one, Angela,
That's
or?
that's correct. Yeah, it would be option one. So just the regular subdivision requirements as per the MGA. And then also just addressing that servicing the drainage for that lot as well.
yeah. Okay. That's done. Thanks, Angela.
so. sorry,
Yes,
do we-
thank you guys.
do we want to do anything about the drainage right now, or that doesn't need to be addressed?
That
Oh, I
would
guess it's
Gets
easy,
addressed as part of the consolidation.
development permit
okay,
and.
Yes, once they apply for their development permit, it'll be more of a requirement. This is more just a heads up for them to know it could be an issue when they go ahead to develop.
Correct.
What about, additional accesses? Does it have to be dealt with here, or do we deal with it in the development permit?
I think you just want one access, right? Correct? Or
The one access should stay for the existing properties, because if you add in additional ones, you could create blind spots on those corners.
yeah, so you can put that as a condition that it only is allowed one access point
I think
for
that's-
legal access.
Onto the street.
Second Street. Yes,
Yeah.
Second
Yeah.
Street. That's right.
if we didn't subdivide it and that lot was developed, you'd still have the same thing though, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
If there is somewhere down the road, whatever happens, say, because sometimes when you consolidate a property, am I correct, Angela? You
Okay.
consolidate it, and then if you go to do something different, you actually have to subdivide it.
yeah,
Correct.
and the control of where the driveway is would be also up to the development permit on that second lot. If it was a second lot, they'd probably make them put it right next to the, as far away from the corner as possible.
Okay.
But that's a good point, Melissa, because there's lots of places in municipalities that there's two lots that were made into one, and then down the road, there's infills, they split the lot again to make two lots for two dwellings.
Some municipalities don't have a problem with you keeping all these extra accesses, others. So
Okay.
I'm just asking the question, is that something you wanna make sure you put it in as one of the conditions?
And Angela, can you dig up that IDP stuff with so that
Well-
should maybe go on the list for the land use bylaw amendment or something that maybe the
I-
wording. the
I
wording-
agree. Yep, I'm gonna send you guys kind of where it came from to begin with, and then I will also put it on the land use bylaw amendment list.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
So we will put in the stipulation of one access?
I would,
Absolutely.
yes, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
So you want option one with 4 points, the 3 existing as presented and 1 additional.
Like
Correct.
drainage and
Drainage and
access.
Access point of 1.
And is the drainage on there already?
Yeah, as I say, it'll go under further in accordance with MGA, the application is approved subject to the following conditions. So we have consolidation as per survey plan, all property taxes to be paid, easements for servicing and drainage obtained by the village if needed. An applicant shall ensure drainage of lot of satisfaction of the White Sands. And then number 5 will be ensure one legal access permitted for the consolidation.
Okay, good, thanks, Angela.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, so next item.
So you guys are all in acceptance,
Yeah,
so
Okay.
is that great?
Carrie?
Have a good day. I'm gonna
Thank
bounce. You guys have a good day.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
So our next item is beach access.
The draft that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's actually then, like, we would call it a policy. Is that-
yes, it's a
yeah,
policy.
Okay,
I think when I read through it, I think it makes sense.
yeah. The only thing that Danny was talking about, and I was on the same kind of path, was the lower gates in the winter time are generally open.
Did change it to.
Yeah, we did.
You did, it's not on here. This one doesn't say it's, the other one said they're permanently closed.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's.
This one is off there. It doesn't say that.
Yeah. 3.1 says lower gates will be locked during the ice-free
Yeah.
season.
They changed
and will be accessible depending on weather, environmental freeze-thaw conditions during the winter
So that,
season.
so it,
That
Yeah.
allows that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is what I heard.
Yeah.
And,
Yes,
you know,
And the
sometimes.
upper gates will be accessible.
dependent on the weather and environmental freeze thaw, so if we feel they should be
Yeah.
closed, that you have the authority to close it.
And it depends on the winter too, like if there's, if the lake is clear, like they can have access at the boat launch to get on the lake and
Yeah.
buzz around, but you know,
Yeah.
some people also used to go down beach access, number 8. And go down, or number 7 and go down on the lake, but I guess that could be looked at by council at the time or
Yeah.
administration.
And we should review this at the end of the season anyway, just to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then it does have that extra clause, all opening and closing notices will be communicated through Summer Village official website, Facebook page, so.
Yeah,
We'll be able to.
and it is, and
have
it
some-
is depending on the weather. Like I've seen that lake as flat as a pancake, frozen solid.
Yeah.
You could skate from here to Roshan to Pelican Point or whatever else. No humps or bumps or nothing.
It's happened once in the time I was saying it was awesome.
It was
Shoot a
unreal.
hockey puck and then skate after it for
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Which is great, like, cause sometimes the ice will freeze up better than, well, the last year, we had a lot of softening.
Yeah,
So we
Yeah,
wanna
well-
be very careful with that beach area, because in actuality, it's actually all right away.
okay, so does that new draft look good?
I thought so.
So, motion to approve?
I'll make the motion. All in favor?
Yes. Thank you. That was a lot of going back and forth.
Yes,
but I
it
think
was.
I think it's worth
Well,
it because
it's-
it makes a lot of sense.
It's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
You know, and
It is.
if it's down on, in the policy, I know people don't like policies, but if it's there for administration to grab out.
Yeah.
Even if Melissa's not here, right?
State what we're following, because otherwise we get that where everybody has their own. Everybody has an
Opinion.
idea and opinion,
Yeah,
but I just need their direction.
Well, and I think it's great that now if somebody wants to have the gates open so they can get down there with equipment to put in, drag out a lift or do whatever they need to do. It's clear what they need to do
Yeah.
here. And it's also clear that the onus is still on them to make sure they know the environmental
Damage.
regulations without
Yes,
us
sure.
getting into the gray area of,
Yeah.
what's strictly allowed or not, but
Yeah, and reporting requirements is not on us. We need to start making residents be responsible.
Yeah, and that was good.
great.
okay, the third one, we have another, so this beach maintenance and environmental stewardship policy actually would tie into our shoreline management plan in the end.
That's why we wanna review all this stuff, because this will have to be incorporated as part of the approvals we want with the drainage right away.
Yeah, and the effective now, our old lease is our guiding force. And still, until we get this shoreline management plan done, and then we'll get a new lease, which could possibly, they're talking about including a section where the boat launch is, so that if it gets damaged or whatever, we can go in without a whole bunch of red tape.
Okay.
But we also need to, because if you go to that report that'll be coming on your next meeting, page 19. Water management right away, beach access 8, any maintenance there, it needs to be approved.
Between beach access, is that the last one?
Way
Yeah.
down, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
cause that is all water management right away.
Yeah, and actually most of,
Like what we're doing down
7.
between the boat launch and beach 1 is on our right of way.
yeah,
We do that on our right of way, and then we tread very careful where we're going anywhere else because we're starting to infringe.
well, it takes care of beach access 7 too, Melissa, 7
Yes.
and 8.
Yes,
But it wouldn't be a problem, I'm sure, for us to mow it like we have been doing. But it's up to Christine or that department.
and last time when they came out for a walk down the beach in 2022, they were not happy about seeing riparian grasses being pulled.
But
So
on
we're
the other
trying to be
hand-
very careful to manage that public land and all that stuff. and I know everybody wants everything cleared right. We're treading careful between all the acts, and we wanna make sure when we go for that's the further discussion after this draft. Is how do we incorporate that into that lease so we can have that bit of maintenance there, and maybe if you wanted to do a playground or whatever, we would have, that could be incorporated into that authorization. Does that make
Would
sense?
they authorize us to use, cause you're suggesting that the crosshatch there is the environmental, not the NR. And that's,
Yeah, there's no,
so would they be open to discussion of allowing us an exception on that ER for that last one? Like, we would have to set that up?
Yes, yes,
and
and that's why.
the thing about that is, if you look at the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan.
Yeah.
Which is to do with the Buffalo Lake IDP as well. It shows our section of property along the lake as recreational. And then there's general, and then there's restricted all around the lake. But we're designated the same as Old McDonald's campsite. It's a recreational area. The people are using the lake, and it's the same as Sylvan Lake.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
front of the town of Sylvan. So yes, they're gonna have a problem saying we can't mow it.
Then you have to remember, Sylvan Lake's a little bit different because where the town actually is, they have created erosion control.
Oh, yeah, they could burn,
This is the
concrete walls
balancing management we're trying to
Yeah.
make sure that we can figure out with them is. And I have had the discussion with Christine, and we just need to make sure it's in our authorization of what we are doing and how far we're doing.
And when does that go forward for discussion?
Well, that's why you're gonna be reviewing this up here July 8th. And then ninth meeting, and then any feedback after you guys have had time to review this, that's the discussion we'll have, and then I will forward all that information and have another discussion about this to incorporate whatever you guys.
So where, if we look at that, so
This is just the draft right now, I'm
Yeah.
trying to create some standards, so we've already said, okay, we'll cover a couple of areas. I just wanna make sure that we're following, cause if somebody else goes out, which is what's happening, is citizens are going out and doing stuff. And we're trying to pull this back a bit to, we understand some of the conditions we have to do, so we're trying to find a balance.
So as it stands right now, the area is not in the water management right away, so the solid green areas, not crosshatch green areas. Those are areas where you're saying that we could go and mow and do it, but in that crosshatch area, it's a gray zone right now.
You
We
bet,
have historically, they're not happy
Yes.
about it.
that's right. And that's why I'm trying to create a policy to have a further discussion of saying this is the direction after discussion with council.
So basically, it's beach access 7 and 8 is the big area.
And then
So
But
this policy would would formalize us saying we're cutting 3, 7, and 8.
yeah,
That's what this is, right? This policy.
this
Well-
policy lays out the.
but also 6 should be in there too.
Okay, well, it's,
6 is down by your place, am I correct?
Yeah,
Can
There is
you
a-
go into a folder and pull up some pictures there that say beach access? Which we've observed and we find it creates a bit of a dilemma.
how to get to it.
Exactly. It's blocked off, it's very sandy, so we don't wanna do
there's
too much.
a gate there, Melissa, where the mower can go right through.
Curious, oh yeah, so where you see.
I saved it into
Because I put
the
the shaft thing in.
folder.
And we just have to move a piece of dock.
Beach accesses. So this is the beach access. And that's why at this point, we created this just to get something. So that's how sandy it is there.
But it's to the right of that.
Yeah,
And
there's-
then if you
The grass patch is to the right of that.
go to the next one. This is blocked.
Yeah, but it's just blocked by
Like somebody.
docks.
And unfortunately, with nothing on any of this stuff, I don't know who to track down, so right now, I'm considering this is what we know we can, and we've already said we'll have this completed by Friday.
Okay, but the policy is saying we will be mowing these 3 areas. And what Lauren is suggesting is that we include a 4th area that may or may not get done because of that.
Yes.
But the intent is that it will be done. Is that what we're looking at for the future?
Exactly, but if you look at that gate there, I installed that gate. And there's docks been put in front of it, and I know exactly who's the other, it's Grant Fulton and Kevin Conway.
So we just
And they
need,
just, we can just move it, you only need to move about 4 pieces of wood dock and 1 piece of, a small.
So who's gonna move it?
I'll go move it, or else I'll get the owners to move it,
yeah, we can get it moved.
cause it's always been the access.
So
Yeah,
this is,
which is some of the things you're gonna be discussing in your July 9th meeting with this report.
so it is the 4th grassy patch on that section.
Yes.
So 3 right here, 7 and 8, and now we're saying the one beside 6.
Cause right now, we've already got Boat Launch, Fire Road, all that little area there, which is on our MR. That's
But
done.
it's not, oh, it's on the MR, that's why it's not included on here.
It is included in here, it says boat launch to beach access, one emergency access and walking access, that's opened up.
Okay.
Okay,
So the only thing that's not on here is 6.
correct. And access points 2, 4, 5, and 6 receive minimal municipal upkeep due to ER classification restrictions, unsafe or steep terrain, proximity to sensitive habitat, lack of demonstrated public or emergency access need, or obstruction by resident placed items, example, docks, slips, debris. That's how we put it.
Yeah. Well,
So we'll remove that obstructions by resident place debris.
Yeah.
Then we've got where we can do a
Okay,
little bit
so-
more, but we still got it as minimal municipal upkeep. But we can
But-
do a little more, it's listed there, the reasons why.
You're gonna have a big argument for me. And it's not because I live there, it's because kids play down there and they play football, beer bong, whatever they do.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be walking around in grass that high. Besides, I've been down there digging thistles because it's not getting mowed. And I used to mow it with a push mower. Two of the neighbors down the road do it, and one of the neighbors pays a contractor to do it.
It's your
Right.
guys' policy, it's up to you guys.
I would
Yeah,
add,
this has to be blended with the
Yeah.
Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan as well. And that is guided by the Buffalo Lake Management Team. That's the Holy Grail Bible.
Yeah.
And our area of beach is recreational. But it does end, so I'm passionate about this, but I don't really give a rat's ass. Where the jet goes out to the Rock Island in between beach access 7 and 8. All of 8 is not on the map in the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan because that was private property at the time and was not related to the village. So that piece, okay. It's not on the map, but up to 6, all that can be looked after. And the government in the lease, our lease says we can do maintenance on there. I don't give a
Well, I think we can solve this actually quite simply by adding beach access 7 or I don't know how you identify that spot. Cause it's not right at beach access 6, it's to the right of it. But
Well,
how do we identify
We
that?
still have to identify it as beach access 6 community use, that's all we need to
Okay,
do, so
then-
we move.
I would make a recommendation that we add beach access 6, cause it is also a grassy spot that is regular. I just wanna
Yeah.
if we're using it and we have been cutting it in the past, let's put it in.
Yes, so in maintenance standards, point 1, you want to add in
Beach access 6,
beach access 6 and community use,
correct.
okay?
And remove it out of the limited maintenance
Correct,
in 2.
yes,
And then,
that's pretty simple.
could we, where it says this policy shall be reviewed every 3 years or sooner, can we put in there that the intent is to review the policy like within 2025 once this is done, because that's what the actually said, right?
Yeah, how
And so
about,
there we're kind of
how about,
covering a little bit that, if we're kind of shedding into some gray areas on here, we're going to revisit it once we
Yeah.
have this, and then we can clear up gray areas.
how about this policy shall be reviewed after the shoreline management plan is approved,
Or is it
or
part of that?
sooner.
Is it part of that?
Well, in a lot of ways, they already be hand in hand, so,
I think it would be well worthwhile to go and re-review this once, when this is all fresh in
yes.
the new council's mind or our
Yeah.
mind, or whatever.
So I think it should
Yeah.
be, this policy shall be reviewed once the shoreline management plan is accepted for approval to switch.
Yeah.
Okay, I think
I'm
that's,
okay with that.
and that's good, so we're being clear that this is kind of like an interim one
That's right,
that may or may not be fully compliant, but it'll at least give us some direction.
it's giving us some guidelines so that
Yeah.
we can do.
Well, it has to be very, very clear and fair. I don't care. It's gotta be fair.
I don't
And
disagree,
you're
I just,
gonna be
yeah.
in one pile of hot water if this mowing doesn't get done. Because everybody comes to the lake because of the lake. If they have a bunch of weeds up there behind on the major player part, environment's gonna have to buck up and realize what's in the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan and our last lease that's still valid.
Can we, it doesn't have to be in this policy, but can we, talk to the owners of that dock?
I'll have it moved
I
this
know
weekend.
that-
Yeah, but I think we need to keep it off that access, because that is access for the mowing.
Yeah,
So it has to be kept off of that area, because that is part of the maintenance area. And I know we're kind of
I think that's another discussion that has to happen, but I think we should look
at
through
that, okay.
at this first, and then.
Yeah.
There's some recommendations in here, so at the next meeting, you'll have had time to review, this will be in your package. You have a whole discussion in regards to this and things that we need to put.
So, just to, make sure I'm fully understanding, so the limited maintenance one, access point 2, which is right by my place, so I get that, it's steep, it's different from the upstairs. What makes 4 and 5 different from like the other ones then, still?
There's no grass.
there's no
Not
grass
a lot
in
of grass.
5.
Okay,
It's
And
straight
four,
from
there's no-
MR pathway to.
okay,
There's just no grass,
nothing to do anyways.
nothing to do
Like,
there.
cause some of the areas, they start
It
going
looked
like
like
this.
that.
And it's- For us, equipment wise, we don't
You can't
wanna
get-
go and do
You
any
can't
of
get
that,
in there.
Okay,
Yeah. and
That's
that's,
the difference.
okay,
So the only difference is that was a one area that was missed, if you will. 6 was one of the grassy spots.
right.
That was previously done that was.
Right. And 6 is the one that you're talking about, that you really wanted to.
Well, it's always
It's a
been
small
looked
patch.
after.
It's a much smaller patch,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but still, it does tend to go to weeds if you know.
Yeah, okay,
And
And
it's not good weeds.
I'm serious, yeah, I'm digging thistles. Like Kathy and I were down there with a bag digging thistles and I do it every year.
Yeah.
And I can't I used to push mow that thing, but I can't do it anymore.
No.
But the neighbors do it, and it's a playground for kids, and it's in the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan.
I'm fine, you guys
Yeah,
got it in the
I-
policy.
I
I don't want you to get in trouble, because if you're already, because you know you're the one that gets punches. People are gonna go down to CJ 7 and 8 this weekend and see that grass there. They're gonna be wild.
It's already being
Okay.
taken care of after you pass this policy.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion.
I need this direction from you guys
Okay,
to get things done,
so I'm gonna make a motion to
I have-
pass
I-
that
just a
policy
minute.
with the
Oh.
change.
as amended.
Just a minute, before we
Okay.
pass it. On section 3, turf, grass and turf management. It says no cutting is permitted within buffer zones or within 5 meters of the high water mark.
That's under the public lands, that's under all of the Alberta legislative requirements, so that's why you are treading careful here.
Yeah, but I wanna know, what does that mean?
Is that current high water mark, like way out there?
High water mark doesn't change.
That says, actually, that high water mark can change, but this is what's considered your high water mark. So we're treading very carefully because we're actually going to do this. But we're gonna be very careful what we do in
Okay,
there.
okay, I'm fine with that. I am a little excited though.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure that, okay, we have something there, cause I understand what everybody's saying. And it's trying to create a balance, but understanding there's all these provincial regulations and we're trying to balance it, but at least council's aware, this is what we're saying, okay, we're gonna do these kind of things, and we're gonna maintain it minimal.
And it depends who's your authority. So Christine Bolton is just run off her feet.
Yeah.
And there's no staff. Bob Shorten, he had that Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan at every meeting, and that's what he followed.
Yeah.
So there is conflicts. Another thing with
There
that,
is changes because of
yeah, and it
legislation.
depends on who the person is.
Yes, but also you have to remember, there are certain things that are, like, we're already we've received 2 complaints about the UTVs. Going down at that bottom, and you just put the information out there, report it.
Yeah, we can't stop. When the
So,
lake's
but
low.
this sets the parameters and it gives us the guidance, but we've already got it scheduled, we just need this passed.
Yeah. I would, so I would make that motion to put 6 into 1, remove it from 2, and also, I don't like D. Because a 2D,
TD,
yeah,
right?
if it's obstructed by residence placed items and it does not allow us to, don't we ask that to be removed or out of the way? If
You
it's
don't
not-
have anything for this, so I'm treading careful.
So you're saying if somebody has a boat lift that's been sitting on the grass for 5 years and hasn't moved, we don't have any authority to get them to move?
We
it?
don't have any policies or direction, and so this is where the shoreline management plan is gonna bring some things to your attention. Right now, I'm just trying to, without causing any grief, we wanna do what we can. But if there's certain things hindering us in the way, we just wanna move on and go to the next one.
But I kind of agree, like, the reality is when something's blocking our access, we can't do it, but I don't know if it needs to be in the policy, but you're absolutely right that, and I think that is something that's missing, is that we need to have a policy for dealing with.
The whole lifts and the docks.
Well,
Yeah, there's the docks that are either abandoned, that somebody's forgotten about, or somebody sold their property and they never moved it off. Or, ones that are in problematic areas, whether it's access, whether it's because they're on the ER or whatever. We should have a policy for how we deal with that stuff.
Our
So you
biggest,
know,
our, our
but we don't
biggest,
know.
our biggest hurdle right now is the lake's low and people aren't putting their crap in the
They're not
water.
in, yeah.
Because that gate access on 6 would never be blocked, because all that crap would be in the water.
I've already had this discussion with one inquiry about that, and I laid it out, here's all the government regulations.
Oh, you're in a hard spot. But the other thing about it is that the beach is for White Sands and public use.
Yes,
And that's how we are designated.
right, but from Christine Bolton's discussion about that drainage right of way, even with our license, they would never allow storage
On the ear. Or on the
on
drainage.
that drainage right of way at all. They've never allowed it in any municipality that they give.
Well, but part of this will be addressed by this.
Correct.
Okay,
So if you're good with those three changes,
you got the Mary?
Agreed to, well,
And then that-
technically, yeah, well, I said move beach access 6 and community use from limited to
Maintenance area.
yeah, take it out of there to move into maintaining access section, and then shall be reviewed once the shoreline management plan is accepted for approval to avert Alberta environment. Yes.
because then you'll have more time to look over what you wanna do in that area for your approvals.
Okay, so. Move, yeah, that's good. All in favor? Okay. Question for Sunday meeting,
Yes,
then if that comes up about the grass on 7 and 8 and 6, I don't know if anybody will say anything about 6.
there's your-
My answer would be, it's in the government's hands right now. Is that right?
Well, it will be in.
Well, in a
drainage
discussion
right away.
with-
If you
we have
go
a discussion
into
with the province.
drainage,
Yeah,
that
but you
maps
still
the
got all
grass.
this damn grass.
Yeah, I think we're allowing it until the government, the province might say no. And that's that's down the
So
road.
if you open up these JPEGs,
Right.
to show,
Yeah, it's difficult. I just maintain people come.
yeah, we're gonna show ya,
Like,
cause this is off a spin, which is the government site that you can go and look up parcels and stuff, right? So if you see, this is at the end. The east end, northeast end, I was just trying to get it right. This is drainage right away. See that? And then I've got more as we open them up, you'll see it keeps going down and down.
yeah, it's
And
my,
that's the area that we have to be able to work with and manage with Alberta Environment, because that's the lease.
yeah, and the other part about the discussion on the equipment that's been sitting on the beach forever, well, that's because the lake is low, but previous years, I used to walk the beach every year. And then put in, if the stuff wasn't in by the 1st of July in the water, took pictures of all that equipment, put it in a newsletter and fanned it out.
Basically
And
said,
you-
take care
you
of
get-
it, yeah.
You give me good excuse, or the council good excuse, or else get that crap off of it.
So can we?
And it worked.
Yeah,
An
I agree.
An adjournment to the meeting, you can continue.
Yeah, we
Sorry,
I'll
yes, I-
adjourn.
At 10,
Okay.
evaluate.
Yeah,
But like there was some people that died and their kids didn't get